I cheated on my husband while he was pretending to go to work. That's the sentence I keep repeating in my head, over and over, like maybe if I say it enough times it'll start to make sense. Like maybe I'll stop feeling like I'm drowning in my own skin. His name is Marcus. Was Marcus. I don't know what tense to use anymore for someone who's technically still alive but dead to you in every way that matters. We met when I was 23 and he was 25. I was working retail, hating every second of it, and he was this rising star at a tech consulting firm. Smart. Ambitious. The kind of guy who wore tailored suits and talked about market disruption over coffee. My friends were jealous. My mother cried happy tears at our wedding. For 8 years, I thought I had won some kind of lottery. Then his mother, Linda, mentioned it at Sunday dinner 3 months ago. So casual. So innocent. I'm just glad Marcus is finally getting back out there, she said, passing me the green beans. 3 years is such a long time to be out of work. I was worried he'd never recover. The room tilted. I remember setting down my fork very carefully, like I was defusing a bomb. What do you mean, 3 years? Linda's face changed. That awful moment when someone realizes they've said something catastrophically wrong. Oh. Oh no. You didn't know? Marcus went white. Actually white, like someone had drained all the blood from his face. That night, after we drove home in silence so thick I thought I'd suffocate, he finally told me everything. He'd been laid off 3 years ago. Budget cuts. They'd eliminated his entire department. He'd been too ashamed to tell me, too terrified of disappointing me, of becoming less in my eyes. So every morning for 3 years, he put on his suit, picked up his briefcase, and went to the public library. He sat there for 8 hours, reading, applying for jobs on the computers, watching his savings account drain while he lied to my face about quarterly bonuses and work stress. The severance pay had run out after 4 months. After that, he'd been slowly liquidating his retirement account to keep up appearances, to keep paying his half of the bills, to take me to nice restaurants on our anniversary. I felt like I'd been living with a stranger. But here's the thing nobody tells you about betrayal. It doesn't just hurt. It makes you cruel. It makes you want to hurt back. I'd met Ryan 6 months earlier at a professional networking event. I was in marketing, finally climbing the ladder at a decent firm, and he was exactly what Marcus used to be. Confident. Successful. A director at a startup that had just secured Series B funding. He'd asked for my number for potential collaboration opportunities and I'd given it to him because that's what you do when you're networking. We'd texted sometimes. Harmless stuff about industry trends and campaign strategies. At least that's what I told myself. After Linda's dinner revelation, after Marcus's confession, after 3 days of sleeping in separate rooms while I processed that my husband had been living a lie, Ryan texted me about a new restaurant downtown. Supposed to be incredible. Want to check it out and tell me if it's worth bringing clients to? I knew what it was. Even then, I knew. I said yes. I told Marcus I had a work dinner. The irony of that lie didn't escape me, but I was too angry to care. Too hurt. Too convinced that I'd wasted 3 years being married to a man who couldn't even be honest with me about losing his job. The restaurant was dim and expensive. Ryan wore a watch that cost more than my car payment. We drank wine that he ordered without looking at the price. He talked about his company's growth trajectory, about the condo he was closing on next month, about his recent trip to Dubai. Everything Marcus used to be. Everything Marcus had let himself stop being. Your husband's a lucky man, Ryan said at one point, and I heard myself say, I'm not sure about that anymore. His hand found mine across the table. I didn't pull away. We kissed in his car. Then we went to his apartment. And I made a choice that would detonate my entire life. I wish I could say it was a moment of madness, that I wasn't thinking clearly, that it just happened. But the truth is uglier than that. I wanted to do it. I wanted to hurt Marcus the way he'd hurt me. I wanted to feel desired by someone who had their life together, who wasn't a failure hiding in a library, who wasn't a liar. I wanted to punish him. When I got home at midnight, Marcus was sitting in the dark living room, waiting. How was work dinner? He asked quietly. Fine, I said. The word tasted like poison. He nodded. There's leftover pasta in the fridge if you're hungry. Always considerate. Always trying. Always too little, too late. I went to bed hating him. Hating myself more. Over the next 2 months, I swore Ryan 4 more times. Each time, I told myself it was the last time. Each time, I told Marcus increasingly elaborate lies about work obligations and networking events and client emergencies. Each time, I came home and watched my husband try so hard to fix something he didn't even know was broken beyond repair. He'd started therapy. He'd joined a job search support group. He'd finally started being honest about his days, about how hard it was, about his depression and shame. He was trying to rebuild himself, piece by painful piece. And I was destroying us from the inside. Marcus found out the way these things always come out. Stupidly. Carelessly. I'd left my phone on the kitchen counter while I showered. Ryan texted. Something suggestive, something that made the context extremely clear. Marcus saw it. He looked through the messages. When I came out of the bathroom in my robe, he was sitting on our bed with my phone in his hands, crying. Not angry crying. Not even shocked crying, just this quiet, broken sound like something inside him had finally given up. How long? He whispered. I couldn't speak. How long? Louder now. Desperate. 2 months, I heard myself say. He nodded like he'd expected it. Like of course his failure of a wife would cheat on her failure of a husband. Like we deserved each other. Was it because of the job thing? His voice cracked. Because I lied? And here's where I became a monster. Yes, I said. Cold. Certain. I married someone ambitious. Someone successful. Not someone who hides in a library for 3 years pretending to have his life together. I watched something die in his eyes. I was trying, he said. I was trying so hard to be enough again. Well, you weren't. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. He left that night. Packed a bag and went to his mother's house. I sat in our empty apartment and felt nothing. Just this vast, echoing nothing. The divorce papers came within a week. Marcus wanted it done fast, wanted to excise me from his life like a tumor. I didn't fight it. What was the point? But then his mother called me. Linda didn't yell when she called. I almost wished she had. Her voice was quiet, measured, like she was trying very hard not to break. I need you to understand what you've done to my son. I almost hung up. Almost. But something in her tone made me freeze. Marcus tried to kill himself last night. The room spun. My knees gave out. I was on the floor and I don't remember getting there. He's alive, she continued, each word precise and cutting. They found him in time. But I need you to know that when the paramedics asked him why, he said he'd failed at everything. His career. His marriage. Being a man. He said there was no point in trying anymore because even the person who promised to love him through anything couldn't stand the sight of him. I couldn't breathe. I'm not calling for your apology, Linda said. I don't want to hear your voice ever again after this. I'm calling because you need to live with what you did. You need to carry it. Marcus will recover, because I won't let him give up. But you broke something in him that can't be fixed. And I hope it haunts you every single day for the rest of your life. She hung up. I threw up in the kitchen sink. Then I sat on the bathroom floor for 3 hours, shaking. The divorce went through 6 weeks later. Marcus didn't contest anything. Didn't ask for the apartment. Didn't fight over the savings account that was mostly mine anyway. Didn't want a single photograph or wedding gift. He just wanted me gone. I signed the papers in a lawyer's office and felt nothing but relief. That terrified me more than anything. Ryan ghosted me 2 weeks after Marcus moved out. Just stopped responding to texts. When I finally called him from a different number, drunk and desperate, he answered and said, "Look, this was fun, but I'm not really looking for anything serious. Especially not with someone in the middle of a messy divorce. It's not a good look." He'd never wanted me. He'd wanted the thrill. The forbidden. The ego boost of stealing another man's wife. I was disposable to him. Always had been. I started drinking more. Missing work. My performance reviews went from excellent to concerning. My boss, Sandra, called me into her office after I showed up 30 minutes late for the 3rd time in 2 weeks. "What's going on with you?" she asked, not unkindly. I told her. All of it. The words just poured out like an infection finally lancing. I thought maybe she'd understand, maybe she'd sympathize. Instead, her face went cold. "You cheated on your husband while he was struggling with unemployment and depression?" Hearing it said back to me like that made it sound so much worse. "I need you to understand something," Sandra said carefully. "I've been where Marcus was. I lost my job during the 2008 crash. I hid it from my family for 6 months because I was drowning in shame. If my husband had done to me what you did to yours, I don't know if I'd still be here." She paused. Let that sink in. I'm going to be honest with you. This changes how I see you. How the team will see you when they find out, and they will find out because office gossip travels. I can't fire you for your personal life, but I need you to get yourself together. Because right now, you're not someone I want representing this company. I nodded numbly and left her office. The gossip spread exactly the way she said it would. Within a month, everyone knew. The looks I got in the hallway, the conversations that stopped when I entered the break room, the sudden exclusion from after-work drinks and team lunches. I'd become the villain in an office full of people who now saw me as cruel and heartless. My friend group from college fractured. Marcus and I had shared friends, couple friends, and when they found out why we split, the group chat went silent. Then I was removed from it entirely. Jessica, who'd been my maid of honor, sent me a single text, "I can't believe you did this to him. Don't contact me again." My bridesmaid Sarah was blunter, "You're a terrible person and I hope you know that." Only one friend reached out. Melissa. We met for coffee and I thought maybe, finally, someone would understand. "I'm not going to judge you," she said carefully. "But I need to know. Why? Why throw away 8 years for some guy you barely knew?" "Because Marcus gave up," I said. "He lied to me for 3 years. He was weak." Melissa looked at me like I was a stranger. "He was depressed. He was ashamed. And instead of helping him, you punished him for being human." She stirred her coffee slowly. "My brother lost his job 2 years ago. His wife stood by him. They're struggling, but they're together. That's what marriage is supposed to be, so I'm just supposed to accept being lied to? You're supposed to have compassion. You're supposed to remember that the person you married was going through hell." She shook her head. "But you didn't want a partner. You wanted a trophy. And when your trophy got tarnished, you traded him in." She left money for her coffee and walked out. I sat there alone for an hour, watching other people live their normal lives, and realized I'd become completely isolated. My mother found out through Facebook of all things. Someone from high school had posted something vague about karma and tagged me by accident before quickly untagging. But Mom saw it. She called. "Tell me it's not true," she said. "Tell me you didn't cheat on Marcus." I couldn't lie anymore. I was so tired of lying. The silence on the other end lasted forever. "I raised you better than this," she finally said. "I raised you to be a good person. To honor your commitments. Your father and I went through hell during his accident and recovery. I didn't leave. I didn't find someone easier. I stayed because that's what love is. Mom, I'm ashamed of you." Her voice broke. "I'm ashamed to tell people you're my daughter. I need some time. I can't look at you right now." She didn't call back for 2 months. The apartment felt like a mausoleum. Every corner had memories of Marcus. The kitchen where he'd make breakfast on Sundays. The couch where we'd watched an entire season of our show in one weekend. The bedroom where we'd planned our future. I tried dating apps. Went on a few dates. But every time a guy asked about my last relationship, I had to lie or watch their face change when I told the truth. "So you cheated on your depressed husband?" One guy said flatly on a third date. "Yeah, I'm gonna pass." He left me at the restaurant with a check. I started seeing a therapist. Dr. Morrison. She was kind but didn't let me hide from myself. "Do you feel remorse?" she asked during our 4th session. "I feel terrible," I said. "That's not what I asked." "Do you feel remorse? Do you wish you've made different choices? Or do you just feel bad because of the consequences?" I couldn't answer. "Most people who cheat fall into 2 categories," she continued. "Those who genuinely regret the betrayal and those who just regret getting caught. You need to figure out which one you are." I spent weeks trying to figure that out. The truth, when I finally admitted it to myself, was ugly. I regretted the consequences. I regretted losing my friends, my reputation, my mother's respect. I regretted that Ryan didn't want me, that Marcus tried to hurt himself, that my life had fallen apart. But did I regret the actual cheating? Did I regret those nights with Ryan when I felt desired and powerful and vindicated? I wasn't sure I did. That realization made me hate myself more than anything else. 6 months after the divorce, I ran into Marcus at a coffee shop. Pure chance. Wrong place, wrong time. He looked different. Thinner. Older. But there was something else too. Something steadier. He was with a woman. She was laughing at something he said, her hand on his arm, comfortable and easy. Our eyes met. I watched him tense, watched the woman notice and look at me with confusion, then understanding, then pity. Marcus said something to her quietly. She nodded and went to order their drinks. He walked over to me slowly, like approaching a wild animal. "Hi," he said. "Hi." My voice came out strangled. "I'm doing better," he said. "Not cruel, not kind. Just factual. I got a new job. Just started last month. It's not as prestigious as before, but it's honest work. I'm in therapy. I'm learning to forgive myself for the job loss." "That's good," I managed. "That's Emily." He nodded toward the woman at the counter. "We've been seeing each other for 2 months. She knows everything. About the job loss, about you, about what happened. She's helping me learn that it's okay to be imperfect." Each word was a knife. "I'm glad you're happy," I said, and meant it, and hated that I meant it. "I'm not calling it happy yet," Marcus said quietly. "But I'm getting there. I hope you are too." He didn't sound like he hoped that at all. He sounded like someone being polite to a stranger who'd once mattered. Emily came back with their coffees. She smiled at me, polite but distant, and they left together. I sat down at a table and watched them through the window. Watched Marcus hold the door for her. Watched them walk down the street, her arm through his, him saying something that made her laugh. He was rebuilding. Without me. Better without me. And I was here. Alone. With nothing but the wreckage I'd created. That night, I looked at my phone. No messages. No missed calls. No one checking in. I opened Instagram and saw Jessica's post about her baby shower. All our old friends were there, smiling, celebrating. I wasn't invited. Would never be invited again. I checked Facebook and saw my mother had posted about her book club, looking happy and surrounded by friends. No mention of me. No photos of us together. I'd been edited out. I went to LinkedIn and saw that people from work had connected with each other recently, building networks, strengthening professional relationships. No one had endorsed my skills in months. I'd become a ghost in my own life. The 1-year anniversary of my divorce passed without ceremony. No one marked it. No one remembered except me. I was still at the same marketing firm, but I'd been passed over for promotion twice. Sandra was professional but distant. The team tolerated me but never included me. I'd become the person others warned their friends about over drinks. Don't end up like her. I overheard it once, actually. 2 junior employees in the bathroom stall next to mine, not knowing I was there. "Did you hear about the creative director position?" "Yeah, I heard they're bringing in someone external, thank God." "Can you imagine if they promoted her? After what she did to her husband?" "I know, right? Like, who cheats on someone going through a mental health crisis? That's sociopath behavior." My boyfriend said if I ever did something like that, he'd never be able to look at me again. They left, laughing about something else, completely unaware they'd just shredded whatever remained of my professional dignity. I stayed in that stall for 20 minutes, trying to remember how to breathe. My lease was up for renewal. The apartment had become unbearable, full of ghosts and silence, so I started looking for something smaller, cheaper. A fresh start, I told myself. The landlord of the first place I toured asked for references, professional and personal. I gave him Sandra's name and my mother's, praying they'd give me neutral reviews at least. He called me 2 days later. "I'm sorry, but we've decided to go with another applicant." The same thing happened with the next 3 apartments. I finally asked the 4th landlord point blank, "Is this about my references?" He hesitated. "Look, I'm not supposed to say anything, but your former mother-in-law called me. Said you'd been contacting the family and that you weren't trustworthy. I can't risk a tenant who might cause drama." Linda had somehow found out I was apartment hunting and had sabotaged me. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to feel righteous indignation. But all I felt was tired. I eventually found a studio apartment in a worse neighborhood. The kind of place I'd have turned my nose up at 2 years ago. The kind of place Marcus and I would have driven through and felt grateful we didn't live there. Moving day was just me and a hired service. No friends to help carry boxes or order pizza after. No family to crack jokes about my terrible packing skills. Just strangers loading my diminished life into a truck while I signed checks. The studio had thin walls. I could hear my neighbors fighting, their TV too loud, their lives bleeding into mine. I unpacked my clothes and realized half my wardrobe was from shopping trips with Jessica and Sarah. Dresses they'd helped me pick out. Shoes we'd laughed about. Each item was a reminder of friendships I'd murdered. I donated most of it. Couldn't stand looking at the evidence of who I used to be. Work became my only routine. I arrived early, stayed late, volunteered for projects no one wanted. I thought maybe if I worked hard enough, proved myself enough, I could earn back some respect. Instead, I just became the try-hard no one trusted. During a team meeting about a major campaign, I suggested an innovative strategy. It was good. I knew it was good. I'd spent 2 weeks developing it. Sandra nodded politely. We'll take it under consideration. Then she turned to James, who'd been with the company half as long as me. What are your thoughts? He essentially repeated my idea with slightly different wording. I love it, Sandra said immediately. Let's move forward with James's approach. I didn't even bother pointing out it was mine. What was the point? After the meeting, I went to the bathroom and stared at myself in the mirror. I looked older. Harder. There were lines around my mouth from frowning. My eyes had this flat quality, like something vital had been scooped out. I barely recognized the woman looking back. My mother finally agreed to meet me for lunch 13 months after our last conversation. I dressed carefully, rehearsed what I'd say, showed up 15 minutes early. She was 20 minutes late. When she arrived, she didn't hug me. Just sat down and ordered water. I'm doing this because my therapist thinks I should, she said flatly. Not because I've forgiven you. I understand. Do you? She looked at me with such disappointment it physically hurt. Do you understand that I spent a year lying to my friends about why you weren't at family gatherings? That I made excuses for you at church? That I've been ashamed to admit what my daughter did? Mom, Marcus came to see me, did you know that? She cut me off. About 6 months ago. He apologized. To me. For whatever role he thought he played in the divorce. Can you believe that? The man you betrayed apologized to your mother for not being enough. Tears were running down my face. I couldn't stop them. He's a better person than you'll ever be, she said quietly. And I told him that. I told him he deserved better than my daughter. I hugged him and told him I was sorry for what you did. What do you want me to say? My voice broke. I know I'm terrible. I know I destroyed everything. I hate myself every single day. Hating yourself isn't the same as changing, Mom said. You're still the same person who valued success over loyalty. Who threw away a good man because he was struggling. Self-pity isn't growth. She left cash for her water and stood up. If you ever do become someone different, someone better, let me know. But I can't watch you drown in self-pity anymore. It's exhausting. She walked out of the restaurant. I sat there for an hour, picking at food I couldn't taste, while the waiter kept refilling my water with increasing concern. The holidays were approaching. Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. All the times when being alone feels like a punishment. I scrolled through social media and saw everyone's perfect families. Jessica's baby had been born, a beautiful girl. Sarah was engaged, her ring sparkling in every photo. My college roommate posted pictures of her Friendsgiving, 15 people crowded around a table, laughing. I ordered Chinese food and ate it alone in my studio while watching Netflix. Marcus posted a photo on New Year's Eve, him and Emily at some party, champagne glasses raised, her wearing a sparkly dress and him in a suit that fit better than the ones he used to wear. They looked happy. Actually, genuinely happy. The caption read, "Here's to new beginnings and second chances. Grateful for everyone who stood by me through the hard times. Everyone who stood by him. Everyone who wasn't me." The comments were full of friends celebrating him, congratulating him on his new job promotion, on finding love again, on rebuilding his life. Linda commented, "So proud of you, son. You deserve all the happiness in the world." I closed the app and stared at my ceiling until 2 a.m., listening to my neighbors celebrate while I existed in silence. Work got worse. In February, I made a mistake on a client presentation. Not a huge mistake, but enough that the client noticed. Sandra called me into her office the next day. "This isn't working," she said, not unkindly. "Your heart isn't in this anymore. And frankly, the team dynamics have never recovered. I think it's time we both acknowledge that. Are you firing me? I'm offering you a severance package if you resign. 3 months' salary. Good reference letter that focuses on your earlier work. A graceful exit." The irony wasn't lost on me. I was being pushed out the way Marcus had been, except I deserved it. I took the severance. Clearing out my desk was humiliating. People I'd worked with for years suddenly remembered urgent meetings or important calls. No one threw me a goodbye party. No one asked to stay in touch. I packed my belongings into a single cardboard box and left through the side door. Job hunting was brutal. Every interview seemed to go well until they asked why I'd left my last position. I tried different answers, seeking new challenges, personal reasons, company restructuring, but somehow the truth always seemed to leak through. One interviewer looked me up on LinkedIn and saw we had a mutual connection. He messaged her right there during our interview. I could tell by the way his expression changed as he read her response. "I think we're going to pass," he said abruptly. "Thank you for your time." The mutual connection had been Sandra. My savings were draining fast. The severance helped, but rent and bills were eating through it. I started applying for positions below my experience level. Retail. Administrative assistant. Anything. Most places never called back. I finally got hired at a call center. Customer service for a telecommunications company. The pay was barely above minimum wage. The hours were rigid. The work was soul-crushing. But it was something. My co-workers were mostly 20 years younger than me. They talked about college classes and weekend parties and their whole lives ahead of them. They looked at me with confusion when I mentioned my marketing background, unable to understand how someone could fall so far. During lunch breaks, I sat alone. The younger workers had their friend groups. I was the older woman who didn't quite fit, who seemed sad in a way that made people uncomfortable. One girl, barely 22, asked me once why I'd left marketing. "I made some mistakes," I said. She nodded like she understood, but her eyes said she couldn't. She still believed in consequences that could be fixed, in mistakes that could be forgiven. I envied her that innocence. 18 months after the divorce, I saw Marcus's engagement announcement. He'd proposed to Emily on the beach at sunset. The photos were beautiful. She was crying happy tears. He was looking at her like she'd hung the moon. The comments section was full of joy. Friends and family celebrating. Linda wrote, "Welcome to the family, Emily. You're exactly what my son deserves." That night, I did something pathetic. I created a fake profile and looked through Emily's Instagram. She was a teacher. Elementary school. Her feed was full of her students' artwork, funny classroom moments, posts about educational equity. She volunteered at animal shelters on weekends. She ran charity 5Ks. She was everything I wasn't. Kind. Genuine. Someone who built things instead of destroying them. I deleted the fake profile and felt disgusted with myself for creating it. The wedding happened in the spring. I only knew because Jessica posted photos as a guest. The ceremony looked perfect. Outdoor venue, string lights, Marcus crying during his vows. Emily in a simple, elegant dress that probably cost a quarter of what mine had. They looked like they'd found their person. I spent that weekend deep cleaning my studio apartment, scrubbing floors that didn't need scrubbing, organizing closets that were already organized, anything to keep from thinking about what I'd lost. My mother sent me a text a few days later. Marcus invited me to the wedding. It was beautiful. He's truly happy now. I hope someday you find whatever it is you're looking for, because it clearly wasn't him. That was it. No, I love you. No, take care. Just a statement of fact and an observation that felt like a closing door. 2 years after my divorce, I was 34 years old, working in a call center, living in a studio apartment with walls so thin I could hear my neighbor's alarm clock, with no friends, an estranged mother, a ruined reputation, and nothing to show for my choices except regret and isolation. I'd thought Marcus was the failure. The one who'd given up. The one who wasn't enough, but I was the one who'd lost everything. My marriage. My career. My family. My self-respect. And unlike Marcus, who'd rebuilt himself with grace and courage, I had no one to blame but myself, and no idea how to become someone worth forgiving. Dr. Morrison asked me in our last session before I had to stop therapy due to cost, if you could go back, what would you do differently? I'd thought about that question for 2 years. Turned it over and over in my mind during sleepless nights and lonely weekends. Everything, I finally said. I'd do everything differently. I'd be the wife Marcus needed instead of the one who abandoned him. I'd choose compassion over cruelty. I'd remember that marriage is supposed to be a partnership through the hard times, not just the easy ones. "And what have you learned?" she asked gently. I looked at my hands. At the empty finger where my wedding ring used to be. At the calluses from my new job answering angry phone calls 8 hours a day. That some choices don't have do-overs, I said. That you can lose everything that matters in the pursuit of something that was never real. That the person you become when you're cruel is the person you have to live with forever. She nodded sadly. I hope you find peace eventually. But peace feels impossible when you're the villain in your own story, and the only person who might have forgiven you is busy building a beautiful life without you.